Hi everyone, let's talk about Gönnen Können, which I just did a playthrough for. If you're wondering where it all is, other than the front of the box, it's linked in the description. You can see me play a whole game of it, a whole two-player game. I was initially drawn to this. I love roll and write games. I have played tons and tons of them on this channel from my shelves of little games that just in my outline, so I can just reel them off from here. Roll to the top, Quinto, Octo Dice, Welcome to. Some of them are flip and fill games with cards rather than dice, but it's the same kind of thing. I think it's an absolutely fantastic genre. Welcome to Dino World. Just popped into my head. I didn't just glance at it. But yeah, I think it's an absolutely fantastic genre, and I've been effusive and all sorts about it in the past. And it's probably going on still without me being aware. I've probably missed out on a load of them. But there was a massive explosion of them suddenly that's maybe calmed down a little now. But Gönnen Können, it does the other thing that attracts me. So it's a roll and write game. Okay, I'm interested. There's loads of those though. This one though, you can write on the cards. So that I admit that's a kind of extra thing that attracts me to it. And another thing is the game Fuse that you can see a playthrough for on this channel. I think it's one of, if not my favourite filler game. I think it is my favourite filler game. We've played it. We haven't played it for a while now, but we've played it over 100 times. It's a fantastic real-time 5-minute dice game where you're trying to... Basically, this isn't real-time or anything like that, but you are trying to do similar things where you want all of the numbers the same, all of the numbers ascending, and sometimes you're restricted to, okay, you need a particular colour in this one, or you need a particular number in this one, or a particular number and colour in this one. That kind of thing. So all of that together really made me seek this out, because this is, at the moment anyway, as far as I know, this is only available in Germany. I got it from Amazon Germany. Other websites are available. Hopefully some of them sell this. I think they will. So it's translated as well by users on Board Game Geek. Thanks to everyone that had a part in translating those rules, because otherwise I would have been Google translating it or not playing it at all. I think that it's a lovely... I've played it solo first of all, and the solo, now that I've played the multiplayer, does a good job of approximating those other players, because you are discouraged from re-rolling yourself, because the fewer times you'll re-roll, the more times you're allowed to copy dice in the dummy player's one roll. So if you don't re-roll at all, you're allowed to copy 3 dice. I'll leave it in the dummy player just rolls once, and you're allowed to pick 3 of those. So in the normal game, we've only played 2 players as well, and I think that it works fantastically well, because you are not particularly completely discouraged from re-rolling, but you do have it in your mind that, okay, sometimes you just roll rubbish and you just have to re-roll. But you want to kind of keep some dice apart, because you don't want to give all of the dice that you re-roll, everyone's going to get a choice from to take a die each time you re-roll. You can re-roll up to twice. So you want to limit some of it. You want to put some of them in this under construction area, which means that they're locked off and people can't copy those ones. To at least restrict it so they don't get basically an extra turn of being able to write things in. But yeah, there's that push and pull. I want a better result, but I'm just giving other people more opportunity to fill things in. And then when it comes to their turn, maybe they're not going to reroll at all, and I won't get to copy anything this turn. It's good that you have... there's no kind of better dice. It all depends on the situation of the cards that you've got. Higher dice aren't better at all unless you've only got cards that want higher numbered dice to be written in. And you are given options as well. If you've just rolled terribly, or you've pushed your luck too far and not ended up with any results, you do always get the chance of getting an extra card in your grid, or being able to fill in a couple of numbers, which is vital as well, because between that kind of last chance option for yourself, or if you're filling in numbers on a player's turn, if you're the active player and you're trying to get the right dice, you have to get all of the right dice in one go for all of the remaining numbers on a card, which is going to be pretty hard to do if that's just the way that you're going to be playing the game. You need to kind of... There's a load of ways of going about it, and yeah, it's a dice game, so it's going to rely on luck in a pretty decent portion. But you are trying to fill in these numbers when you get the chance to do it individually. Not so much to complete the cards, unless it's going to give you a bonus that you desperately need, but to give you a kind of better standing to be able to fill in these cards when you're the active player and you need to actually fill the whole card. You can do especially as the game goes on towards its end, you can end up filling a few cards in one go, because the only restriction is you're allowed to use dice to completely fill cards on your turn. Well, if those cards have only got a couple of spaces, you've got a good chance of doing a few of those in one go towards the end. And you can always use them to get more cards, because the grid is nice as well. You've got a 3x3 grid of cards that's your limit. You just start off with 3. You don't necessarily need to get 9. But you decide where the positioning is, and you decide the kind of split between, there are cards that give you points. If you complete their top half, you get a point scoring condition, like points for every row or column, or points for every blue card in your grid at the end of the game. That's only activated if you've done the top half of the card. And then there are bonuses, where you can treat a card as any colour at the end, or be able to adjust the colour or number of dice that you roll just for yourself. And the balance between that, obviously you just want points more than anything else, because that's what's going to win you the game. But unless you get very, very lucky, that's a very risky avenue to take, because you won't have any ability to affect those dice, and you might find yourself just filling it a couple of numbers at a time, where other people with a better balance are able to write a lot more in a lot of the time, or copy more dice when it's your turn, for example. I think it does really, really well on that. I do think, obviously, I can only talk about kind of the perception of balance. I've got no idea of actual balance of stuff, but the perception is what matters more. Kind of thought we've only played about, I've played solo more, but we've only played a few times multiplayer, and we were kind of thinking, depending on the player that got to them, if somebody gets the card where the scoring condition is have all 5 colours in your grid, and it's worth between 20 and 24 points, I think, the cards that do that. If you can get a couple of those, that is a substantial chunk of points for not doing very much. And of course, you're allowed to repeat these things because you've only got 9 cards in your grid, so being able to get 5 colours twice isn't possible. But yeah, it seems like a very, very easy way of doing it. And maybe that's the idea, that if another one of those comes out, you have to make it your mission to take that away, because if somebody collects too many of those, it will be an issue. And yeah, that's probably not going to be as much of a factor in a game with more players. There's not going to be as much to go there. And the other thing is, in 2 players, in the solo game, every time it's the dummy player's turn, a card is cycled from one of the rows. It's your choice. But in the 2-player game, the card rows are static unless somebody buys something. And I would like, at least after everybody's go, maybe get rid of a card from one of those rows. Because, if you end up with a kind of pattern in the cheap rows that just nobody wants, that's basically it's reducing the available display for everyone, and it's not going to change until somebody is basically forced to take one of those cards. That would be a little thing for the 2-player game at all as well. But overall, I've really enjoyed it. I think it is it's a lovely different novelty to be dry white marking in a game anyway. Is pretty fun, but being able to kind of deface the cards and still have them in lovely condition for your next game is a big plus. And I think it's a nice puzzle, having this grid, and your kind of being put off, not in a massive way, you're being dissuaded a little bit from re-rolling, because it can give other people a lot of a chance. And I thought maybe we're in lockdown, it's just the 2 of us, but maybe in a game with the full 4-player count, when you do re-roll, and then you know that you're about to re-roll again, but you've got to wait for everybody to copy your dice and stuff, especially if there's a lot of kind of slow players that that get analysis paralysis and take a while on their turn to make decisions. Maybe that could make it take a while, but that's the same thing that Gönnen Können, which is a fantastic roll and write game, felt the same way with that when we played it at 4 players. But it's just kind of it's a hypothetical, because I haven't played it at 4 players yet. But hey, I've got to say something, haven't I? Watch the playthrough though. It'll make more sense to you than anything that I just said, probably. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more playthroughs, you could watch one of those roll and write ones that I mentioned. I'm sure that the end screen is going to recommend one to you as well. Hopefully it's going to be brilliant. Subscribe if you like. Support me on Patreon if you'd like me to make more things. I'm going to go now. Bye.